I'm Josh Hager, Vice President of the Bismarck School Board. It's 5:15 on Monday, June 23rd. I call this meeting to order. Mr. Eastgate was not able to make it tonight. He had a scheduling conflict. Welcome to those of you who are joining us both here and also online. You can find our agenda and follow along online under the School Board tab at bismarckschools.org. Mr. Scher, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hager?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mrs. Peterson?
Here.
Ms. Presky?
Here.
Dr. Frostnut, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1C, BPS mission, vision, and value. The BPS mission is to empower every learner to thrive. The BPS vision states, together our strong relationships build inclusive, collaborative, and innovative environments that create agency and inspire a passion for learning, excellence, and discovery. BPS values are inclusion, excellence, innovation, leadership. You'll also find a link to the agenda in the agenda to the BPS strategic plan. Item 2 is to adopt the agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Scher?
Lee?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Presky?
Yes.
Hager?
Yes. That brings us to item 3, focus on success. Dr. Frostnut?
Good afternoon, board members. Nice to be with you this afternoon. For today's focus on success, we want to give you a report on our accreditation report from Cognia. And to do that, I'd like to introduce and bring to the podium Dr. Tara Olson works in our LDI department, is really the primary lead on our Cognia review this year. So good afternoon, Dr. Olson.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Frostnut and members of the board. Over the course of the last year and a half, BPS has been engaging in the accreditation engagement process. Tonight, Mrs. Meyer, the Director of Learning Design and Innovation, and I would like to share a little bit about the process and resulting celebrations. The engagement review is part of the accreditation process that is required by North Dakota Century Code. It also includes a yearly student engagement survey, strategy maps that each of our buildings fill out and turned in on June 1st, and then this occurs every 5 years. The purpose is to look at the current reality and then look into the future to see where we need to make improvements and also celebrate the good things that have been happening. There we go. The engagement review consists of 4 characteristics and 30 standards: culture of learning, leadership of learning, engagement, and growth. It is pretty comprehensive, including a data review over the course, and in our case, 6 years, because there was a pause during COVID, an analysis of those student engagement, executive summary, performance of the stakeholder feedback, and then learning environment observation. In addition, we self-assessed ourselves, each of the buildings did, in the standards, and curated a portfolio of evidence to submit along with the assurances of continued commitment to best practices, which culminated in a 90-minute presentation to a team of 9 Cognia members on March 3rd. This process was definitely a team effort. Each building started last spring by identifying their own Cognia leadership team to engage in their internal reviews and self-assess themselves. In turn, findings were shared each month with administrators in our district leadership academy meetings. When all data was gathered, administrators collectively worked to find commonalities and action steps, identify our next action steps. With that, the BPS score was 313, which was above the network average, so we're very proud of that. Our next steps start today. You can link to the full report within this when you have your free time and like to look it over. But our next steps are sharing those findings, celebrating success, and addressing the areas of improvement. Progress monitoring of these actions will occur in 3 years. The accreditation team called out 7 specific areas of celebration, as well as 3 opportunities for growth. In the celebrations, they were looking very extensively at how we use data to leverage decisions. They mentioned that numerous times in the report and to us in person. They also talked extensively about collaboration, and collaboration rated very high amongst all of our buildings and teacher and student feedback. Combined, this has led to academic growth that is consistently above the state average. Strong leadership and governance was also noted, which without we could not make the gains that we have as a district. Looking more closely at the student experience, BPS was commended for a diverse range of extracurricular activities and programs. In the schools themselves, tiered systems of support effectively provide interventions and extensions for learning based on needs of the students. The BPS culture of acceptance and appreciation of others, specifically naming peer-to-peer programming, inclusive sports, and the hiring of an Indigenous education director and expansion of EL services are all examples of how we live our value of inclusion. With the opportunities, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Meyer, and she's going to share those.
Thank you, Dr. Olson. So we're incredibly proud of these results, but at the same time, we have some opportunities to improve. So the first area is in student engagement. It's important that we expand student voice and choice. And these are the two areas in our strategic plan that we will continue to support those efforts. The next area was in digital resources and making sure that not only our students, but also our educators are equipped with the knowledge that they need to ensure that we are ready for 21st century learning. And specifically in the strategic plan, safety is a part of this. So not only enhancing their skills, but making sure that we're doing it in a safe manner. And finally, we talked about improving our use of data. So many of you maybe already know this, but we will already see the impacts of this next year when we bring in Panorama, and we have the opportunity to put that data right in our teachers' hands so that they can more effectively make decisions about our students. And before I hand it back over to Dr. Olson, I just want to commend her. Being new to BPS this year, it would have been incredibly challenging to do an accreditation review on my own, and so I just appreciate her institutional knowledge and the collaboration that her and I were able to have a successful review. And I'll turn it over to her to finish off.
Okay, so in closing, I think it's important just to remember that our last accreditation was in 2018. So our community at large, as well as our school community, have gone through some significant changes, including demographics, specifically an increase in our EL population, new buildings, physical structures we have built over the last 5 years has been incredible, which have led to support growth and innovation in programs. And then we continue to maintain a steady attendance rate, despite some of the reports that say that students are decreasing engagement. So I think district administration, current and past, as well as the school board, building administrators, our incredible teachers, and the community at large should be commended for the commitment to quality public education, and specifically to BPS. With that, we'll stand for questions.
Board members, questions, comments? Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you, Dr. Olson and Mrs. Meyer. I know this is a heavy lift, and it's a big deal. Maybe more for the public, but could you explain why we use Cognia?
Cognia is what is chosen by the Department of Public Instruction as the current business.
Because we have used other agencies
Yes.
in the past.
Yes, it has changed. We've had, I can't think of any right now. Advanced Ed was the one prior to this.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it easier.
Yes, thank
So
you.
thank you. So Cognia comes in, and this is a year and a half process approximately?
Yep, in terms of like when we start building those teams, start digging into the data, the review, because we're looking at, we go into classrooms, we have specific things we're searching for. Are we seeing this teacher moves, student moves, resulting things? We have community surveys. The benefit to this recent one is with our operational expectations, a lot of this data already existed. In the past, we've had to go in and create in multiple folders. Here, it was just a matter of curating, pulling out, and having all the administrators look and see for patterns. So the attendance was easy to find. Those observations happened multiple times. The OE results were easy for us to go back and historically review. So.
Yeah, and it's a great report. Obviously, 313 is a great score. It doesn't really surprise me when I look at the opportunities. those are great things. Anything we can do to increase student engagement is huge, right? But we do those things already. It's not that we're not doing them well even, but there's always opportunity for improvement. So thank you both for the report.
Dr. Fosnot.
Yeah, I guess board members, I'll finalize that. It is a year and a half to do the formal work that Dr. Olson and Ms. Meyer were involved in. I will say as they kind of let in, it's an annual kind of check-in. Cognia has this annual check-in for school leaders and school teams. This really is the culmination of that. I will say really proud of their work. She knocked it out of the park, and I'm saying that to Dr. Olson. She knocked it out of the park and how she organized our school leaders on this and got prepared for the team. When the team came in, it was actually as much stress you can have getting ready, and I'm sure she was more stressed than I was, but actually a joyful day. They really came to us and really were proud of and appreciative of what BPS was doing for our students and our community. And it was very affirming to hear that from outside stakeholders, to get to look at you from a distance. That's a really good thing. And I really, again, just want to applaud Dr. Olson on the work and our teams for doing the work. It turned out really well, so thank you.
Dr. Olson, Ms. Meyer, appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this. As Dr. Fosnot has mentioned, it seems like a heavy lift. A couple of the things that I took note of is you talk about data-driven decisions, so using that information to help us make decisions to make us more effective and a better district overall. And the other small little thing that I noticed actually in Dr. Fosnot's office on your report, how you tied it back to our strategic plan with some of those symbols. So I appreciated that as well. So thank you both for the report. This was good. With that, that brings us to item 4, which is public comment. The board recognizes the central role parents play in the education of their children and supports active parent involvement in the education process. The board's practice of public comment reflects and aligns with policy BCBA, the spirit of its intent. For classroom issues, it's best to follow the chain of command: teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. For district issues, please reach out to Dr. Fosnot. If you do wish to speak tonight, we simply ask that you be responsible, be helpful, and be respectful. Our BPS students deserve to have adults model the expectations that we have for them. Groups are urged to select one spokesperson. Individuals will be limited to no more than 4 minutes and will be notified with 30 seconds remaining to conclude their remarks. The board will not debate issues as presented, but will take such matters under advisement. With that, please stand and approach the podium if you wish to speak tonight. Seeing no one, public comment is now closed. Item 5, monitoring district operations, OE11, instructional programs. Dr. Fosnot?
And on this tonight, we have, we're going to ask to come back to the podium Mrs. Meyer, who will be presenting our report on OE11.
You thought you were done with us. Good evening, Vice President Hager and members of the board. Dr. Olson is also going to help with this one. And we have the privilege tonight of providing an overview of the OE11 report and highlighting some of the key successes achieved during the 23-24 school year. The intent of this report is to ensure that a program of instruction is established and maintained so that all Bismarck Public School learners receive challenging and relevant opportunities to reach their full potential and achieve excellence. So as you know, Bismarck Public Schools has established a well-defined and systematic approach to curriculum development, ensuring that we are aligned with standards and monitor outcomes as outlined in OE 11.1 and 11.2. This alignment is central to our guaranteed and viable curriculum, ensuring that we offer our students not only rigorous instruction, but that it's rooted in best practice. We follow a 3-phased approach, which you will see here on the screen. This approach provides our guiding coalition teams with clear priorities and allows for differentiated and responsive work across subjects, courses, and grade levels. And as we continue to focus on the implementation and success of our curricular process, it's essential that we take a moment this evening to recognize the incredible teacher leaders that drive these efforts. Our guiding coalitions are made up of educators who are connected to the work and closest to our students. The guiding coalitions ensure that every educator in BPS has the tools, resources, and supports that they need. So what I have highlighted here for you is a digital workspace This is organized to allow any BPS educator, whether experienced or new, to easily access and engage with the work of our Guiding Coalition teams. Indicator 11.7 emphasizes the importance of regularly evaluating and modifying all of our instructional programs to assure their continued effectiveness through the Guiding Coalition. This structure is instrumental in our district in ensuring that our programs remain responsive and effective, always adapting to and meeting the evolving needs of both of our students and our educators. And speaking of our students, I also get to highlight indicator 11.4, ensuring our instructional programs give students the chance to develop their talents and interests. Personalized learning is a priority in our strategic plan. Every learner should have access to a path that matches who they are, how they learn, and what they aspire to achieve. So you will see here we are committed to programs like CTE, dual credit, advanced placement, as well as newer programs like Empowered Ed. Empowered Ed allows students to earn the same credits, but in different ways by engaging in real-world experiences. And I hope that you know this, but for the public, I just want to remind that it's the same credits just being provided in different ways. And we're very proud of that. You will see in the picture here, we have 2 Empowered Ed students completing a community project for Goal Robbers Hockey School. The owner, Nate, requested a collapsible reaction board, and these boys delivered the product and a reproducible blueprint. I did hear you talking about hockey on the way in, so maybe you want to engage with these 2 young men. On the next slide, you will see extracurricular and co-curricular activities are highlighted. All students have access to meaningful activities that enrich their experience, whether it's sports, clubs, fine arts, or leadership programs. These opportunities help build life skills and connect students to their community. Before I turn it over to Dr. Olson, I just want to thank the board for their continued support and the community for their engagement in this work. It would not be possible to have strong programs like extracurriculars or some of our pathways without your commitment to personalization. And one more thing before I turn it over is we do need to highlight that we have one area that's in compliance with exception. This was also true last year, and this is indicator 11.9, and this is on policy ACDA. So although we have 100% compliance with our students, we are still having challenges in getting 100% compliance with our staff. So you will see here on the screen some of the things that we are going to do to hopefully rectify that. One of them being a new way of delivering it through Canvas. And so I'm excited to come back next June and hopefully share a different number with you. So just wanted to call that out before I turn it over. And Dr. Olson is going to highlight some of the innovations and inputs that we have had throughout the 23-24 school year. Seems why I wasn't here. So with that.
In 2023-24 school year, we made significant strides in ensuring that our instructional efforts were aligned with best practice and supported every student's learning journey. One of our main focuses was the adoption, of a new K-5 ELA curriculum, which included Wit and Wisdom, UFly, and the 95% group, all aligned with the science of reading legislation. This alignment ensures that we're meeting the needs of students, especially in foundational literacy. And you did hear a focus of success on where we're going with that earlier this year. We also prioritized ELA and math standards to ensure that instruction and assessment were focused and effective across grade levels. Our targeted support and differentiation efforts included reviewing intervention courses and resources while also implementing choice boards for enrichment opportunities. Finally, we focused on digital resource use by conducting an audit of our learning management system and instructional platforms, ensuring that the supported blended learning, and we've also, finally, working with math, have been working on an audit of the K-12 math resources and systems I've referenced there to be better within our guaranteed and viable and coherent across the district. Capacity highlights, we celebrated several that helped shape our learning community. We explored new ways to optimize learning by launching the Teacher Leader Academy, Cohort 4, while exploring partnerships for Cohort 5. This has been a key strategy to develop teacher leadership within our schools, many going on to become instructional coaches, assistant principals. We completed high reliability school training with Dr. Phil Warwick, which provided valuable strategies for ensuring reliability and consistency in our educational practices. Our classroom observation rounds were focused on important areas like the guaranteed and viable curriculum, student engagement, and the implementation of instructional frameworks. We also implemented an external credit review process to ensure that educators were receiving compensation for credits that were consistent and transparent along that journey. Throughout the year, we embedded intentional data-driven protocols into stakeholder meetings, keeping our focus on data-driven decision-making. Additionally, we communicated updated standards-based education guidance documents to all staff and rolled out disciplinary literacy at the secondary level, alongside the science of reading initiatives like Letters, Aspire, and Reading League to deepen our literacy instruction from the pre-K-12 perspective. We would like to close tonight's presentation by highlighting several innovations that were prioritized to further enhance our curricular programs and expand opportunities for students and staff alike. As you heard earlier in the presentation, one of the initiatives for this year was the continuous expansion of Empowered, allowing students to earn credits through real-world experiences. The expansion of the Career and Technical Education Center will continue at the Silver Ranch location with a focus on providing even more hands-on opportunities that prepare students for future careers. We also committed to further growing the Renew Ed program, offering additional support and resources for both students and teachers. Another key priority was the refinement of instructional frameworks and walkthroughs to ensure greater alignment with district goals and to provide more actionable feedback to teachers, which helps improve instructional practice to meet the needs of every learner. We continue to prioritize dual credit partnerships with local colleges, allowing even more students to earn college credit while still in high school, which supports our college and career readiness for students. And finally, we continue to work on the audit of our teacher evaluation model, moving toward the adoption of a growth model that emphasizes ongoing professional development, continuous feedback, and improvement for all educators. With that, we will stand for questions.
Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Peterson.
Thanks, Vice President Hager, and thank you, ladies, for presenting on both of the accreditation and OE11. I think it's fitting, obviously, that they are together because I think we've all talked too about how vast OE11 is, and it really is what we do in this school system. And so to put all of it in this one operational excellence piece sometimes does feel a little hefty, going all the way from a policy review to actually what we do in all of our classrooms. So hopefully those of you at home and the families can see that this is like where we are looking at the academics, the teaching and learning. Everything is all kind of put within this. But I really want to touch on one of the last things that you talked about with the comment that you talked about with the teacher evaluation model. I know that is something that I asked kind of some questions too, because obviously if we're talking about accountability here with our results policies and other things, that's our purview. But then also making sure that you're working with teachers so that it does allow them to learn and grow, and then hopefully be something that is aligned with everything else that you're doing. So I do commend you guys for looking into that, and then I believe those of the families and stuff that are looking at home and teachers, I'm hoping that they're going to feel some coherence with the HRS model that you guys are doing in terms of your guaranteed and viable curriculum and standards-based education, with the teacher evaluation, the professional learning. It's all, hopefully gonna make sense. So there's no question in that. It's just a commendation for all the work that you two ladies and your entire teams do, and all of the teachers that are in our buildings every single day wondering, okay, why do I have to go to this meeting, or what am I doing here? But it's all for kids, and clearly it's showing in that data where we're seeing results. Our grad rates going up, academics are going up. And while you so importantly noted that while we still have challenges with our demographics, new buildings, we've done it all. So just thank you for all the work that you do and for this report.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This may be a question for either one of you or both of you. So we've talked about, I think a lot of us are really excited about the dual credits, and we're always talking about equitability. Is there a process in place, or are you working with school administrators to try to make sure that the dual credits are offered are fairly similar across the board? we know Legacy had a head start being the pilot, but are the other two high schools closing the gap, I would ask?
Yes, I don't have exact data, but I would say that our 3 high school principals are committed to ensuring that the experiences for students are similar across all 3 of our buildings. And I think Mr. Phillips over at the Career Academy also is working hard on partnerships with the colleges so that anything that we're doing here easily aligns. Dr. Johnson, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Dr. Fosnell, I think, has shared too in the past that we continue to just work towards that alignment. Again, sometimes it's based upon the degree credentials that are necessary. So some of that has been an AP versus a dual credit, or sometimes we offer both. But if someone doesn't have the advanced degree, that's been an impediment to being able to offer a dual credit. Likewise, some endorsements in some other areas, but really we continue to look to expand and see where we can ensure that equitable opportunity for the most part.
Just to jump on top, we also are making sure that that professional learning is available so that if they do want to get credentialed, whether it's AP or dual credit, that they have access to that professional learning so that our educators are certified to offer that.
Okay. I think with BSC, wasn't there, kind of how this all started with, again, where the dual credits exploded was they have a proctor where the classroom teacher doesn't necessarily need the credentials, or is that not completely right?
That can exist in some situations. Usually they're put on a multiple year, like a 2 to 3 year process, and that's what Ms. Meyer was also talking about. Then we'd have to have that individual be willing to be enrolled in a program and be seeking, if they have a master's degree but it's not an English literature, then they'd have to be enrolling in like an 18 credit or a second master's program. So that's part of that. But yeah, that's how we've been able to get that jump started by having some of those relationships. Again, that's an ongoing conversation there, and we continue to, again, find opportunities where it's appropriate and where that's wanted and needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lee. Dr. Fosnett?
I was just going to comment the next 2 months were, actually it's on the docket for tomorrow at our leadership meeting to look for a date, a future board meeting to work and provide that report on that. Because as you're well aware, I mean, we had kids, 9 students, I think, this year graduating with their 2-year degree before they actually graduate for the high school degree. So I think that AP dual credit is a great opportunity for our kids and our families. So we wanted to showcase that. We just got to find a date we can do that in partnership with our college partners. So we'll bring it back to you.
Thanks, Dr. Fosnett. Dr. Olson, Ms. Meyer, thank you both again for your work on this, putting this report together. It's fun watching that presentation and just seeing you guys highlight all the kind of the wonderful things that are going on within BPS. You know, when you talk about extracurricular activities to the things that are going on in the classrooms to, like Mr. Lee had pointed out, dual credits, Empower Ed, CTE stuff. So thank you both. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move that we find OE11 instructional program taken as a whole in compliance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Chair?
Lee,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Presky,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item 6, board member school visits. I believe we have one tonight. Ms. Peterson.
Yeah, thank you. I was able to attend, I was able to go to Wilmore's Camp Ed adventure program that is offered for our PK students all the way through 5th grade. I was able to go last Friday, so I'm glad to be able to talk a little bit about that school visit. Obviously, I think several of us were able to go to Wilmore throughout the school year. But right now we have summer school happening in all of our, well, many of our buildings, whether it is elementary, which is called Camp Ed, or whether it is, I think they do kind of some middle school programming and even some athletic training and things like that. And then, of course, summer school at the high school looks very different depending on where they're at. But I was able to attend our PK through 5 Camp Adventure program that was really started, especially with that PK version, by Jill Vallejo and Dr. Amy Peterson a couple of years ago, where they really wanted to bring forth an opportunity to, the way that Camp Ed goes, for those of us that have had children in Camp Ed, they go in between the year that they are done with one school year and go to the next. So they often call them, rising fourth graders, rising fifth graders, and so on. And so there was some questions about how can we do rising kindergartners and make sure, and I think this was really key for Mrs. Vallejo and Dr. Peterson, is that it wasn't really just like a drill and kill, get ready for kindergarten, get them to read before they even walk through the doors. It really is a unique outdoor camp experience that's intentionally designed to develop our youngest of learners through speech development, sensory play, unique learning outings, and then some students never even get to experience these. And obviously, we got to highlight Wilmore, and Wilmore is in a really unique position, being in the middle of town, so that they really go walk to a lot of these experiences. And even with our smallest of learners, our 4 and almost just turning 5, are walking all the way to go see the larks or go up to the Capitol to go to a fire station that's nearby. And so I was just really impressed with it. And they wanted to call it Friends Finding Language, because there's obviously that speech component. And I think that what I was impressed with is really how those students were able to socialize and really engage in kind of research-based development activities. Obviously, as I was there, they're sharing pictures of the brain, pictures of how, kind of all the things that go into the background. But when you're just watching those children, it looks like they are playing, they're engaging with each other, they are having experiences. And too often, especially obviously there's been a lot this last year talking about technoference and the social anxiety that, that we're all learning about with the anxious generation and screens and some of that developmental delay that's coming from those students. But this is really, I hope, and they have some evidence to back this up, that it is taking some of those 4-year-olds, and really when they walk through those doors as kindergartners, they're prepared to learn, they're prepared to have that executive functioning that needs to exist to kind of be in the school setting, but they're doing it through a really positive experience in this camp experience. As of right now, I thought that it's been a really great job that our leaders, Brad and Dr. Fosnot, are really brainstorming ways that they could blend funding that comes from the state for summer school, also and really target it to our most needy of students in schools, where kind of like some of our Title I buildings. So it's in 8 of our 9 buildings: Wilmore, Grimsrud, Miller, Moses, Myrie, Northridge, Pioneer, and Roosevelt. And so these experiences that they were showing, in fact, they showed pictures, thought that maybe we should get it up as a focus of success at one point, because the pictures and the videos are pretty amazing. But they showed pictures of both the way that it's programmed, so that there really is that evidence base in all of the programming. But what I really appreciated was that it's uniquely tailored to wherever they are, whether you're out in, Jill had done it back when she was out in Lincoln, and obviously they can't walk to the Capitol when they're out in Lincoln, but she's like that they really engage in just the walking path around town, really looking at some of the local businesses. So I was super impressed just with the ingenuity of our leaders and in these 2 fantastic women, but also just the excitement of all the teachers who are getting to teach like this and really think through about these experiences, and the preparation on not only the coaching that's being given with kind of some of the speech language development through all the educators that are embarking upon this, but also just the fact that they're helping kind of like give kits and binders so that this could be replicated. But it's not just, okay, give a student a worksheet and go to the zoo. It's really engaging in that kind of intentional smaller class sizes, so that you can really do the teaching and learning that needs to happen with some of our kids, and really focusing on some of that family engagement. They're having families come in, go on some of the experiences with them. We would call them field trips, but I hesitate to say it because what I was hearing these ladies talk about was not just like what I would do if I was going to the bowling alley with my high school students and we're going on a field trip. These were intentional learning experiences designed for the kind of the utmost learning, while also looking kind of like, play and coaching. And so I think that I hope to see this continue. Really appreciated the intentionality, as I've said, and that fidelity towards the programming with all schools. I know they were looking to expand it not only to all of the schools in the district, but these ladies wanted to expand it statewide. They invited some of our state leadership. So I'm excited to see, again, it's Bismarck leading the way, inspiring these opportunities, and then just showing how it can be done really well. So they are collecting that data. Again, that focus on success. They'll probably have more data to share with this team about how they're both optimizing dollars so that they can do it really well, but then also how can they get in more hands. So I kudos to those educators and to all of the presentation today. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ms. Peterson. Ms. Preskey.
I have a quick report I can give on, I visited the Facilities and Transportation Building and met with Jason Middlestead. And it was the last day of school, so a lot of buses out and about doing special field trips and celebrating the end of the school year. And that's kind of what I expected to see. What I didn't expect to see is everything else that goes on in that building. And I doubt that our public and our citizens have any idea that I would describe it as like the central nervous system for our facilities. For instance, in our tour, we saw the food that's brought there and stored there, and then it's distributed to our schools, supplies, the paint for fields in our community at our schools, electricians, carpenters, those that are working on our HVAC systems. So I was like, wow, you guys do it all. I was just really shocked. So it was really cool to see. Very organized. I think it was the cleanest maintenance room that I've ever been in. Yeah, very organized, coordinated, and really all the nuts and bolts to build like the school facilities up and keep them running. So really appreciated the visit. And we also talked a lot about the transportation change coming in the fall, and they're all getting ready for it and looking forward to it. And I think he emphasized that really there was no choice, that we really needed to make this change for BPS. And so just again, another little maybe reminder to our parents out there, it might be a little difficult at first, but we'll all get through it. And change is sometimes hard, but looking forward to what that will lead to down the road. So thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Preskey. I do enjoy some summertime school visits. Not often that we get those, but that facilities is an impressive building to see what those guys do out of that building. Jason Middlestead does a great job with that group. With that, item 7, consent agenda. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Scher?
Peterson,
Yes.
Preskey,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hager.
Yes. Item 8, superintendent's report. That's a full superintendent's report tonight. Dr. Fosnot.
Yeah, usually I don't bombard you with this many topics, so thank you for letting me take some more of your time this afternoon, this evening. First one I have on here for you board members is talk a little bit about title budgets and specifically Title I. I know I mentioned this to you last time we were together, that we were foreseeing or being informed that our Title I budgets were going to see a large decrease as a state. I think it was just a little over 8%. For Bismarck Public Schools, that materialized about 16% reduction in Title I funding. For those that don't know, Title I funding goes to your highest poverty schools. In Bismarck Public, that's our highest poverty elementary schools, and is really there to provide academic intervention for our most academically needy children. So what I have just provided you and the public watching tonight is kind of the impact, what 16% look like, and I kind of broke that down by budgetary code that you can see. And if I can ask Mr. Barnard to hit the link at the top, we'll go to kind of the budget. What I did to provide to you and to the public out there is so you can see last year's budget to this year's proposed budget. There's still some finalization happening at DPI on that. Mrs. Peterson knows that better than anybody else. She's in the business every day. But we're really close to that. On the blue column, kind of where we spent our money last year, not only by school, that's at the top, but by activity, kind of by object code of a budget and where those monies went. So like last year, you can see we spent little over $1.6 million just in professional salaries, okay? Non-professional salaries, $650,000 and change. Almost $900,000 just in benefits for those two employee groups. And it goes on to a total spend last year of $4.4 million. Now going into this year, we know that we're seeing a reduction. That's $3.6 million total. And I guess I just showing for people at the top what that impacts each of those schools. Now you say, well, why are some schools different than others? There's a targeting formula that's provided to us by the state, so there's really not a lot we can do there. The targeting formula tells us what each school is going to receive. And you can see there's some schools, particularly Myrie Elementary, who's going to see a $137,000 reduction in their funds that they can use for this targeted group. And when that's all done, you can see that that's quite an impact on all of our schools. What I wanted to share with you, and I guess kind of get your affirmation on tonight, is if we just apply the money we have and try to keep intact, as we talked last time, some of our human capital, because some of that's already contracted and some of it we have choices on, some we don't. When we just plug in the human capital costs, and those are in black in the green column, you can see we just do our human capital and we're already kind of underwater on the budget. There's not much money left. Actually, we're probably still short a little over $100,000 just to keep our support staff, which would be instructional paras, instructional aides within the title program, intact. So when you add those together, it does become quite an impact. Like, how are we going to make it float? What I would tell you and the listening public is I've asked all those elementary schools to go to and use any or 75% of their carryover from this year. So if you had unspent dollars in your budget this year, I want you to make sure you're spending them for the most part this coming year. That's reflected in the green box at the bottom. That's $358,000. When we do that, we're still underwater a little bit as far as keeping our human capital in order. So I guess what I'm looking for the board and what I'd like to offer to you is we're going to continue to work on the budget. We're going to continue to move it forward. As we finalize the budget, we get into August. We have to put in you just approved our consolidated application, but we have some time to do budget revisions as we get through the budgeting process, not only for federal funds, but for our general fund. I'm thinking, unlike what I scared you with last month, which was $700-some thousand of red spending, which could have been shifted over to the general fund, I think Mr. Barnhart and his team's probably got that whittled down to $250,000. I think for a one-year commitment up to $250,000, we'd keep our human capital intact, and we have some work to do with that. I think Mr. Lee brought that up last time, but we still have some position choices we have to make through the summer as we fill some vacancies and also deal with some of our para support or aid support. But I would use that $250,000 to backfill human capital costs, and then use a portion of it for supplies, because we're just starting that conversation with elementary principals. Like, some of those are needs, not there. They're not just wants. They're not just stickers and bulletin boards and paper. Some of those are curriculum materials that we use with kids. They're instructional materials that we buy into or pay into. So we just have to go through there really intentionally and say, okay, what's a need? What's a want? Okay, let's address the needs. Let's make sure we can gap them for a year until we get to the next year. We can actually have time to make budgetary adjustments before next year. And what I would ask you is, if you are kind of in agreement with that, I would bring that back to you for your approval in the budget later in the budget cycle, back into August, September, when we do the approval of the general fund budget. And I'd stand for any questions you have for that.
Board members, questions on that, comments? Not seeing
Okay.
any, I would assume that means we're good with you
Okay.
working the process
All
forward.
right, we'll roll that process forward. And again, Mr. Barnard and his team been working really hard on that to get that tightened up. But again, just kind of finalize the numbers here in the last couple weeks, and we'll continue to share those with you as we tighten those up and what our needs and wants are and where we finalize. But again, from last time I talked to you to now, it has gotten a better direction. We've kind of refined that request a little tighter, but still a challenge. We're still going to have a challenge with federal budgets, not only this year, but into the future. And as you kind of already approved in the consolidated app, we're still waiting on a few other title funds, waiting for the finals to be done. So hopefully we're not shocked again by one of those as we move forward. If it's all right, then the next thing I'd like to talk about is I had a wonderful meeting with the producers, you might say, the creative inspiration of the Sleepy Hollow Theater Company, and had coffee and enjoyed an afternoon or morning learning about the Sleepy Hollow production, theater production, and how we could be really good partners. And what I was really pleased to say is I think we came to a really good partnership agreement that how we can support, really, it's supporting Bismarck kids, right? I was out at Medora this weekend, took in a performance on Saturday. You know what? There was a young man performing there that performed in this company years ago. So it has great impact not only in our community, but in our state, and obviously even outside of our state. So had a wonderful night, and what I'd like to say is we came to a good arrangement to share some facilities back and forth, particularly with the smoke again today. You saw it coming in. Here it comes again, to be able to get our kids inside while they practice for this production. But I was really pleased to see that they're going to do a night where they can honor BPS educators around our community. So mark your calendar, August 1st. I think it's a Grease night, a Grease production, and they're going to honor educators in our community. So really happy about that they're going to do that. So I think it's a positive working relationship we have between them and us, BPS. Any questions on that? Really excited about it. I think it's great. So the other thing is I just gave you, and more for the listening public, you've seen this before, but for listening public, since it's our last meeting in this year, leading into July 14th meeting, I just put the meeting schedule in my report again so people can see it. And then if there's no questions about that, I would jump into cell phones. Personal electronic communication devices, as we talked about, that was in the legislature. We had a couple partnering bills that became one bill. You remember the governor signing the bill and Centennial Elementary School. So we finally, here about 2 weeks ago, received a draft policy from School Board Association. I guess I would tell listening public, we're working on that, trying to get the policy in a revision, kind of take our first look at it, make revisions. My intent, if you are in agreement, board members, is we'll continue to get that into kind of a draft format. We'll share that out with our stakeholders, our public, our parents, and allow them to comment on that, to give us some feedback. I will say, I appreciate the feedback, but I will caution parents that there's so much of it is just codified. It's law. There's not a lot of choice and there's voice, but there's not a lot of choice because a lot of decisions have been made about how we have to implement this. But it gives you an opportunity to look at it. You can see what we're doing as far as a policy to roll that out. And then once I have that feedback, I'll bring that back to board members, to you, at our July 14th meeting. So you can see the feedback. We'll give you a draft policy. And even though I know you don't approve administrative policies regularly, I do think this is one by statute. They ask for it. And I think it's good affirmation for you to weigh in on that you're okay with that cell phone policy. So I'll bring that back to you. And I guess that's all I have. If not, if you don't have any other questions, I'll kick it over to Mr. Scher. Okay, Mr. Scher.
Thank you, Dr. Fosnot, Vice President Hager, members of the board. This is not the last financial report for this fiscal year, but it's really close. And you can see that our analytics, we probably have a little work to do with what happened with the credit, the tax credit, where we received it a lot later than we anticipated. So we'll adjust that, and hopefully that'll get better. You can see we're trending I would say, more positive in the revenue than we have typically, and then on the expenditure side, we're tracking really well. A couple things I'll just point out is we continue to have challenges with keeping all of our maintenance done. Just with the inflation, the price of stuff we do, we're to the point now where we make choices and we do kind of the minimum, just because we can't afford to do the same things we even did 6 years ago. I do appreciate the board offering. We did do some adjustments last year. That was huge. So it's a lot better, but it still continues to be a challenge for that team. The other thing is you can see we're tracking really high, almost 100% on all of our revenue sources, like local and state. And the 60%, I think, roughly in the federal, that's pretty common because remember it's a reimbursement type, so you have to essentially expend it and then reimburse it. So that we're not anticipating that falling short of where we're saying. And other than that, it's going to be, we've got about 2 more weeks of normalcy, and then it's going to be crazy. So we'll be trying to get the year closed out and a new budget started for you to look at that workshop. And I hopefully won't give Jeff a heart attack before we meet, but looking forward to another close of year and start of year. I'd answer any questions the board would have.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Board members? Okay, not seeing any. With that, all agenda items have been considered. I declare this meeting adjourned.